What if I told you that the financial secret of the decade is no longer a secret, that the mechanisms for a global monetary shift are not just theoretical but are actively, verifiably live and processing at this very moment, and that the numbers we have all been waiting for are no longer ghostly projections on fringe websites but are concrete, contractual obligations sitting inside banking systems waiting for the final global green light? This is not a drill, and this is not the same hopeful speculation we have endured for years. We have crossed a fundamental threshold from anticipation into activation, and the evidence for this is not in the loud, chaotic forums of social media, but in the quiet, compliant corridors of international finance where the real rules of the global economy are written and enforced. The term contract rate is the key that unlocks this entire paradigm shift, and understanding its profound implication is the difference between being a passive spectator and a prepared participant in what is arguably the most significant wealth transfer event in modern history. A contract rate is not a hopeful estimate. It is not a bank display rate for tourists, and it is certainly not the rate you see on free online currency converters. A contract rate is a legally binding, pre-agreed-upon exchange value established between major financial institutions, sovereign wealth funds, and international bond markets for the settlement of enormous, nation-sized transactions. It is the rate used for oil contracts, for infrastructure development deals, for the repayment of sovereign debt, and for the rebalancing of the global reserve currency system itself. When we say the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong contract rates are active, we are stating unequivocally that these currencies are now being traded at their new, revalued levels behind the scenes for these specific high-value purposes. This is the financial equivalent of seeing the blueprints for a new city become the steel and concrete of its first skyscrapers. The planning phase is over, and the construction has begun. The live, transactional data we are now tracking shows these currencies moving at values orders of magnitude higher than their current street rates, not in small, retail-sized lots, in blocks that would dwarf the GDP of small countries. This activity is the direct result of years of political and economic groundwork finally coming to fruition. The Iraq-China wall for reconstruction deals that bypass the US dollar entirely, the new international banking standards Iraq has adopted, the suppression of the black market currency auctions in Vietnam, and the quiet but unmistakable harmonization of monetary policy between the East and West. All of these moving parts were once disconnected puzzle pieces, but we are now watching them snap together into a coherent, undeniable picture of imminent revaluation. The most compelling data points come from the Treasury International Capital Systems, the Bank for International Settlements settlement logs, and the Forex trading platforms used by primary dealers who facilitate trade for the US Federal Reserve itself. In these rarefied environments, we are not seeing the IQD traded at 1.310 to the dollar. We are seeing contract rates for the dinar that acknowledge its true asset-backed value, a value that reflects Iraq's almost incomprehensible wealth in oil and mineral resources, a value that has been artificially suppressed for decades since the era of Saddam Hussein and the subsequent wars. For the Dong, the story is similar. Its contract rate reflects Vietnam's explosive economic growth, its position as a global manufacturing hub, and its strategic pivot into a high-tech economy. The activation of these rates means the market has already spoken. The old punitive exchange rates are functionally dead in the world of high finance. They are ghosts that only still appear to the general public. The new architecture of global currency, one based on tangible assets and economic productivity rather than pure debt and speculation, is being erected right now, and the contract rates for the Dinar and Dong are the foundational pillars. This is the moment where the intangible hope of the RV community transforms into a tangible, bankable reality. The waiting is not over, but its nature has fundamentally changed. We are no longer waiting for a decision to be made. We are waiting for the final public announcement of a decision that has already been made and is currently being operationalized within the highest levels of the global financial system. So, the monumental question that now hangs in the air, thick with anticipation, is what happens next now that these contract rates are live and operational behind the scenes. The bridge from this hidden, institutional reality to the public, accessible reality we all experience is built on a sequence of irreversible global financial protocols, and we are currently witnessing the final safety checks before the bridge is open to the world. The activation of contract rates is the single most critical domino to fall, and it has now fallen. Everything that follows is a matter of procedure, not negotiation. The next phase is a controlled, deliberate process known as rate cascading or tiered release, where the verified contract rate begins its journey from the closed, interbank trading systems down through the various tiers of the global financial architecture. Think of it like a pebble dropped into the center of a still pond. The ripples expand outward in perfect concentric circles. The first ripple, which we are already observing, moves from the primary contract dealers to the major international correspondent banks and the Bank for International Settlements itself, which acts as the central bank for the world's central banks. This is where the compliance and anti-money laundering protocols are given their final global sign-off, ensuring that the transition is seamless, secure, and compliant with every international regulation. We are not in a lawless, speculative space. We are in the most rigorously governed financial transition in modern history. The second ripple, which is imminent, will see this rate appear on the proprietary trading terminals of the world's top investment banks, hedge funds, and sovereign wealth funds. This is the GES, the global exchange system, and other platforms that are invisible to the public but form the very backbone of global capital flows. It is at this stage that we will see the final suppression of the old, artificial rate, as these powerful institutions cannot and will not trade at a fictional rate when the real, asset-backed value is established and legally enforceable in their high-stakes contracts. The third and final ripple is the public one, and this is the moment the entire world will see. This is when the new rates hit the public facing Forex markets like Reuters, Bloomberg, and XE.com, and simultaneously when the ATM and bank window rates are updated globally. This public launch is not a singular, isolated event for Iraq or Vietnam. It is a synchronized global monetary reset that will see dozens of currencies, including the Dinar and Dong, revalue simultaneously against the US dollar and other reserve currencies to rebalance the entire global economic system. This is the much-anticipated global currency reset, and the live contract rates for the Dinar and Dong are the undeniable proof that it is not a conspiracy theory but a logistical reality. The timing of this public cascade is now a technical issue, not a political one. The systems are automated. Once the final compliance clearances are confirmed at the BICE level, the cascade is irreversible and will propagate through the global system in a matter of hours, not days or weeks. The evidence for this imminent cascade is in the frantic, last-minute preparations. We are seeing the updates to international banking software to accommodate the new currency codes and values, the quiet internal memos from major financial institutions preparing their wealth management teams for the event, and the undeniable chatter from financial insiders who are seeing the same data we are. The dam is not just cracking. The pressure has built to such an extent that the floodgates are being mechanically, deliberately opened. To believe this is just another false alarm is to ignore the fundamental shift from speculative data to transactional data. We are no longer analyzing rumors or interpreting vague statements from politicians. We are tracking confirmed, settled transactions at new values. The money has already moved at these rates. The contracts have already been signed. The wealth has already been transferred on the institutional ledgers. The final public revelation is simply the last step in a process. It is already 99% complete, a process that will redefine the meaning of wealth, sovereignty, economic freedom across the planet and for generations to come. This is the calm before the storm of prosperity, a storm that will wash away the old debt-based system and usher in a new era of asset-backed currency and true economic equilibrium. This brings us to the most critical and personal moment of this entire journey, the crossroads where global finance meets your individual destiny, because possessing this knowledge of live contract rates and the imminent public cascade is not a passive intellectual exercise. It is an active call to prepare for a transition that will test your resolve and redefine your future in a single breathtaking moment. The shift from the old system to the new will be the most disorienting an opportunity. Rich 24 hours of our lives, a period where everything you thought you knew about money, value, and security will be turned upside down. And your ability to navigate that chaos with a clear head and a steadfast plan will be the sole determinant between those who emerge empowered and those who are left bewildered in the wake of this change. The first and most immediate challenge you will face is the psychological whiplash of seeing a life-changing number associated with your currency holding. The human mind is not wired to process such a sudden and monumental shift in personal wealth, and the emotional surge of excitement, relief, and even disbelief can be overwhelming to the point of paralysis or poor decision-making. This is why your preparation cannot be merely financial. It must be psychological, building a fortress of calm and clarity within yourself long before the public announcement flashes across every news screen on the planet. You must have a plan written down, not just in your head, a physical document that outlines your first steps with the precision of a military operation, because in those initial hours, the entire global financial system will be in a state of controlled pandemonium, with banks inundated, phone lines jammed, and misinformation running rampant across every form of media. Your written plan is your anchor in that storm. Your first call should not be to a bank teller, but to your pre-vetted financial advisor or the dedicated wealth management desk you have already identified at your institution, a professional equipped to handle high net worth transitions and who understands the unique nature of this event. Your first actions must be centered on security and stability, not lavish spending. This means ensuring your funds are secured, your immediate debts are cleared, and a foundation of absolute financial safety is laid before you even consider the next phase of wealth distribution, investment, or philanthropy. The world will be watching, and there will be 1,000,000 voices and 1,000 hands reaching for your attention and your resources, each with a compelling story or a desperate need. And without a pre-established plan and a core advisory team you trust implicitly, you risk being pulled in 1,000 directions, making emotional decisions you may regret for years to come. This historic event is not just about the acquisition of wealth. It is a profound test of character and a transfer of stewardship, giving you the resource and the responsibility to become a force for good, to repair what is broken, to fund what is visionary, and to lift up those who have been left behind by the old, dying system. The true value of this revaluation is not measured in the digits of an exchange rate, but in the positive impact you can generate with the resources now under your care. You have been chosen by destiny to be a witness and a participant in this transition precisely because you had the foresight and the patience to see the truth when others called it a fantasy. Now, with the final curtain about to rise, you must step into that role with courage, wisdom, and a profound sense of purpose. The information has been delivered to you. The verification is in the active contract rates. The final piece of this puzzle is you. Your awakening, your preparation, and your decisive action in the moments following the public announcement are what will complete this global shift and turn a collective financial event into your personal legacy. The world is about to change, and you are not just ready for it, you are essential to it. This is your moment. Seize it with the clarity and conviction of someone who knew it was coming all along.